Good evening and welcome everyone to the Tuesday, September 16th, 2025 City Council meeting of the City of Oldsmar. The first item on our agenda is our invocation and pledge of allegiance to the flag, which will be led by our City Attorney, Mr. Tom Trask. Please rise.
Our Heavenly Father, we come humbly before you to ask your divine guidance and help in our deliberations this evening. Bless the members of this council and the citizens that are present. We pray that our work this evening will find favor in your sight. This we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tom. The next item on our agenda is our Citizens Open Forum. We have a couple of public hearings this evening, and we also have a special item number 2. So if you are here to speak to items number 1, 6, 7, or 8, which are our public hearings, please save your comments till that time. If you are here to speak on item number 2, which is the consideration of the revised conceptual plan for the city-owned property located adjacent to and including City Hall, please save your comments for that time so that we can have everything together. But at this time, if you're here to speak on anything else, please come forward to address the council. Each person is limited to 5 minutes. Please give your name and address. We don't assume that you live in the city of Oldsmar. Would anyone on this side of the room like to address the council? Okay, seeing none, would anyone on this side of the room like to address the council? Okay, and with that, we will close the Citizens Open Forum. The next item on our agenda is the Community Minute, which will be read by our lovely City Clerk, Ms. Kristen Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. Party in the Park and Foam Party will be held on Friday, October 3rd from 6 to 9 p.m. at Ari Olds Park. National Night Out will be held on Tuesday, October 7th from 5 to 7 p.m. at Ari Olds Park. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you so much, Kristen. The next item on our agenda is approval of addition of new agenda items, which includes item 13. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify, I'm sorry, excuse me. Is there any discussion on this item?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We have no awards and recognition this evening. The next item on our agenda is the Community Redevelopment Agency. And item number 1. City Manager?
Item number 1 is a public hearing to adopt Resolution 2526, adoption of the Community Redevelopment Agency budget for fiscal year 2025-26. The City of Oldsmar proposed fiscal year 25-26 budget, which includes the Community Redevelopment Agency CRA fund, was reviewed by the City Council and discussed during budget workshops on May 29, 2025 and August 12th. The proposed budget incorporates a millage rate of 4.05 mils per Resolution 2025-22, which was adopted by the City Council on September 10, 2025. Proposed CRA expenditures for fiscal year 25-26 total $3,190,015 and are consistent with the City of Oldsmar's tentative 25-26 budget. Exhibit A of the Resolution 25-26 details the planned revenues expenditures for fiscal year 25-26. Resolution 2025-26, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, acting as the Community Redevelopment Agency, CRA, approving the CRA budget for 2025-2026 fiscal year and providing for an effective date hereof. Whereas it is necessary for the CRA to estimate the necessary revenue to meet the obligations and expenses of the CRA, and whereas the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, acting as the Community Redevelopment Agency, has reviewed the proposed budget for the CRA for fiscal year 25-26 that is included as part of the final budget of the City of Oldsmar. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, acting as the Community Redevelopment Agency in session duly and regularly assembled. Section 1, that the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, acting as the Community Redevelopment Agency, hereby approves and adopts the Community Redevelopment Agency budget for the 2025-2026 fiscal year, attached hereto as Exhibit A, that this resolution shall become effective immediately upon passage and adoption. This was a reading of Resolution 2025-26. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you. As mentioned, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to speak for or against this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing as to item number 1. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item? No. Okay, no discussion. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Vice Mayor Graber,
Yes.
Councilmember Tadaszewski,
Yes.
Councilmember Swager,
Yes.
Mayor Gannon.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-26 is adopted with 4 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is consideration, item number 2, consideration of revised conceptual plan for the city-owned property located adjacent to and including City Hall. So for this item, we're going to have a presentation of a memorandum that you'll see in the agenda from our city manager. Then we'll have Stanberry present. We will then have public comment. Stanberry can then answer any questions if they'd like to. Then the council will have a discussion on this item. City manager?
Thank you, Mayor. On Wednesday, November 6, 2024, at 6 p.m., the City Council held a work session to discuss the project elements of the conceptual plan submitted by Stanberry Development Group. Representatives from Stanberry Development Group will present tonight a revised conceptual plan based on the discussions of the November work session. If the City Council desires to accept the revised conceptual plan, then a motion will be needed to accept the revised version and authorize the city manager to continue negotiations. The revised submitted conceptual plan is attached, and the former submission can be found at downtownoldsmar.com. I would like to invite representatives from Stanberry Development up to the lectern, John Meyer and Mark Hayes.
Thank you, Felicia. Good to see everybody again. It's been a few months. So we are here to present the revised plan, go through, we have a little bit of a slideshow here that I'll try to speak to from a little far, and we'll touch on a bunch of points that we've tried to thoughtfully address since we were all last together relative to parking density and all the other things that came up at that time. So, oh, here we go. All right. So this was the plan that we last saw. There was a plan that showed significant density on the site. That was one of the probably the, I think, single biggest thing that was causing some consternation within the community. The buildings were, I think, 4 stories at their lowest, 4 and 5 stories. There was some debate surrounding the parking structure and a number of other things. So we've kind of taken that into account. So the new revised plan is this, and I don't know if you guys can. I'm sure you can see it on your screen, probably better than I can see it. But I'll just walk you around the plan, and if we can, we'll start in the upper left-hand corner where it says Public Plaza. So we still have the retail building over in that area. We did slide it a little bit further into the point, and because there was some commentary that having a more grassy public space kind of right at that point with the heavy traffic and stuff maybe wasn't the best use of that property, and that having the gathering space and the public plaza and stuff was going to be an area that would probably be better used. So we have that. It still has visibility out to Tampa Road, as well as sits at the top of Park Boulevard. As you go to the next item there in the middle, we've created this walkway. It's landscaped, and this nice paved walkway that cuts through the project over to what will be the retail on the other corner, and obviously has stops along the way where you could go to your apartment or to the amenity space for the apartments or what have you. In the upper right-hand corner, we show a retail building there. That is a bit of a placeholder. We do expect it to be a retail building. I don't necessarily expect that it'll look exactly like that. We'll work on that building a bit, and it'll probably increase a bit in size, but we're trying to figure out how to get the parking to work for it properly, because without proper parking, it's a little hard to support that. So we need to work on that a little bit more. But that building will be commercial, and then the L that you see on that building that comes up Washington, that portion of the L closest to that retail, that will also have a little bit of a sense of commercial as well, or not be, that won't be residential. So as you see that building, as you're coming off of Tampa Road onto Washington, or as you're at that retail looking across, that building will be where the fitness facility is, perhaps some meeting rooms in the lower level of that building, and some of the public space for the multifamily there. So I'll have a little bit of a sense of a little bit more kind of commercial and a little bit more active space. As you come down Washington to the corner of Washington and State, that little note there in the middle is, and we'll have examples of this coming up, is that we've talked to some architects, and one of the other issues that was raised kind of throughout the process that we've been going through was the idea that this is just going to be some big apartment building with a big wall, and and we were confident that we would be able to provide plenty of architectural nuances to it to make it attractive and something that everybody could be proud of. But we got a lot of feedback relative to townhomes, and could we have a little bit more of a style to that building. So one of the things that you see there is we've talked to some architects and some designers, and we feel like we can present an apartment product but those first level apartments will have a front stoop. So they have the ability to have be a little bit more welcoming on the sidewalk, that the people that live in those apartments will have a little bit of a front porch or a front stoop, if you will. They'll have an entry into their apartment, obviously, from the interior of the building as well. Won't be their only entry, but it'll have a little bit of a more of a townhome style and feel to it. And then lastly, we have the main building that's along State. Again, those buildings, we've lowered the height on these, so that all the buildings that you're looking at here, the State and Washington are 4-story, and the two on Tampa Road are 3-story. So we've brought all of this down a level or two from what it was, and that little connection point between the two buildings, that'll just be part of the apartment complex on the second, third, and fourth level, but with a nice entry feature. So as you pull up on, I believe that's Fairfield, I think is the name of that road, but as you pull up there up to State, you aren't just staring through a couple buildings back into space, but it feels like a little something, and there's an entry point to go back to the parking that's in the rear. But again, it's all kind of nicely shown within the context of the building. Again, these are just some imagery, some image boards. Again, you'll have the public space. I think we still feel strongly that the community plaza can be a hub for a lot of things. Some of the things that we talked about last year were being able to take State Street and perhaps you do a farmer's market there on Sunday morning, and that plaza becomes a hub of activity, kind of anchoring that. Or I know there was a lot of talk about third Thursdays or fourth Fridays, or that you could do stuff like that there. And again, that plaza becomes kind of a hub for that activity. Here's some of the images that we shared last year. Again, that building in the background would come a little bit closer, but other than that, it would look something like this. The architecture would change a bit. I think we're going to change the architecture of this project is being contemplated a bit differently than what was shown in those renderings a year ago. This slide is here. I know this is a view downstate, but one of the things that we're proposing on the plan is, that I forgot to mention on the last slide, is adding some parking along Washington. And the idea is as you come off of Tampa Road, that there will be a little bit of angled parking along the right-hand side of Washington. So if you can picture the cars kind of on angle facing to the apartment building. One of the things that we thought with increased retail traffic, with increased traffic from just pedestrians and others, the one thing that we really we're trying to figure out is how do we slow down traffic, and how do we slow down traffic kind of quickly. And as we've done at other projects, and we've kind of done in our project in New Jersey, there's certain things that you can do that naturally just kind of cause people to shift it down a little bit of a notch. And one of them is having parking. Just having parking, knowing that somebody could be walking out or whatever, tends to slow people down. We like the idea is having residents there and shoppers, that, you know, having that angled parking not only provided some parking for those residents and shoppers, but also helped to slow the traffic down coming in from Tampa Road. This would just be the image kind of down State Street again. Again, the architecture of this building would look a little different, but as you can see here, we had 5 stories there. That would be reduced. Again in an effort to kind of tone down density on this project. This is a picture. We're going to walk through a project that I know we've talked to you guys about in the past, but this is a project that we're just now delivering, is just starting to open up, that we're doing in New Jersey. And this particular picture here is, if you look at this view down State Street, right? And then you look at this view here down the side of the Smith Building at the district at 1515, it's kind of a similar image, right? So, and then we have on the right-hand side, you can see a stoop, right? I don't know that the stoops would look exactly like this, or this will be the architectural style that we would pick for Oldsmar. But again, to give you a little bit of idea, you have this nice landscaped area. There's a door that apartment has coming out to a stoop. Some of the people that are living in those apartments have a table and 2 chairs out there, what have you, and have some nice outdoor space to enjoy. So this is just to give you an example of what that could look like. Here's a few others, vantage points of similar stoops in the same project. This is the front of that building. Again, you can see some of them over to the left-hand side with doors entering the residences there. This is an entryway to our parking. At this particular project, the parking here is a parking garage. But it could look something like that. It could be labeled. It could be, you know, labeled as district parking, enter, exit. But you can see that there's some either residential units or activity space or whatever above that. Again, kind of creating a little bit of an intimate, more closed look. And then here's an idea of some of the apartments. Again, you'll see, you know, they're nicely put together apartments featuring good cabinetry, plenty of storage, stainless steel appliances. You know, these would be market rate units that we would be proposing here in Oldsmar, just like the units that you're seeing here. Nice floor treatments, nice window treatments. This is the lobby of this particular building and some of the community space that we're referencing. That's another view of the lobby. This is a courtyard at this particular project. And that's another courtyard. These are some images of, there's a project here in Florida that we're pretty familiar with. And so we took some photos here because I think this is a little bit probably more in keeping with the architectural style that we would go with here in Oldsmar versus what you just saw in New Jersey. Nice pool area, nice outdoor space. This is some indoor space as well. Outdoor grilling areas. Indoor areas for the residents to gather, to have a party. Fitness facility, as we'd mentioned earlier. And these are some of the apartments or the rooms. Again, nicely appointed, stainless steel appliance. And then this just takes us back to the site plan. So that's the presentation for now. Again, we're looking at 200, this contemplates 240 units. We didn't, again, we wanted to keep the density down, so we didn't, I know there was some conversation last year about bonus density and that we didn't consider it then. We aren't considering it or looking for it now. Again, we have parking counts and retail counts, but that's the project.
Couple other items that Mark didn't mention. The project, the investment's about $70 million in total. On units, I think we were at 250 last time, now we're at 240. And the retail's down a little bit as well. We're down to about 10,000 square feet, which is what we can accommodate given the lower density and the lack of ability to support a parking deck. That's it.
Anything else? Okay. Okay, at this time, I'll ask the city clerk, do we have any cards for her?
We do not.
Okay, then what we'll do is we will simply go by a show of hands. Anyone on this side of the room would like to address the council? Ginger, please come up. Sure, we'll just go through.
Ginger Tadaszewski, 303 Park Boulevard. I'd rather address them if it's okay, because I have just questions. That's all I have is questions.
You can go ahead and ask questions,
Okay.
and then they'll have the opportunity to come up again, and they can choose to answer those questions or not. I
Okay.
can't force them to answer any
course.
questions, of course, but certainly ask your questions. Everyone who wishes to speak this evening will have 5 minutes.
Okay. Can you put that slide back on of the overhead?
Could we have thank you so much.
So all that green space in there, is that all open to the public? What percentage of that is open to the general public? Or you don't have to
We'll
answer
just-
it now.
We'll just
You
take
can-
some
okay,
notes, yeah.
Okay. Do you know how many storefronts are going to be included in here that can be rented out?
Okay.
Like, that's my second question. Will any of those storefronts be retrofitted to attract restaurants or eating establishments? Or is there some kind of guarantee like that in the contract? I don't know how that could happen, but maybe. And assuming you have, I'm going to assume, it's an assumption for right now, because I don't know what the answer is, that you're going to have the same number of storefronts as the library project, which is 17 to 18, so that makes 35 to 36. Do we think Oldsmar, 15,000 people, 65,000 cars a day on Tampa Road, do we think we can handle or have businesses flourish when it's 35 to 40 new businesses? So that's a question for everybody. And I'm sure you guys have already thought of these questions. And the other question I have, or thing, because it's the first time I'm seeing it and it's hard because it's two-dimensional. I know you have a reason for this, but it just struck me when you said it. The big, long building in the front next to State Street and closest to residential is 4 stories high, where the buildings in the back, the 2 individual little buildings, are 3 stories high next to a 6-lane road. Wouldn't that make more sense if they were reversed? But I don't know how that works. So that's my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else on this side of the room? Yes, please come.
Hello. So a couple of questions.
If you
So-
could please give us your name and
Oh,
address for the record.
My bad, sorry.
Not at all.
It's Jackie Herrig, 400 Lakewood Drive.
Thank you.
So in some of the communications, you were talking about it being an apartment. Is it truly apartments or is it condos? Meaning, is it rental or is it ownership?
Okay.
So that's one of the questions. Then, one of the other suggestions was based on zoning, density. So how many levels will the structures be? Are they gonna be 2, 3, 4 stories, or 6, as what was talked about before? What is the estimated, and you may have mentioned this, I apologize if I
It's okay.
missed it, the actual value of the units, what their cost is gonna be to live in there.
Okay.
Again, trying to make sure that the idea for me, thinking about this, is that you're pricing it out so that it's not gonna, it's gonna have a nice curb appeal in the end, over thinking long-term, not initial. Is this particular area, will it be fenced off? Is it gonna be a gated area? Will the picture that included the garage, is that for residential use only? Will that be open to the public? There's some retail space in there, so when you have the slanted parking on Washington, I believe, might be wrong on that, but is that the only thing that's gonna be allowable for for public? Or is there, what else is gonna be there to accommodate that need? And I think that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, anyone else on this side of the room? Okay, and if you want to, I will come back over. Anyone on this side of the room? Mayor Beaver.
Jerry Beaverland, 512 Pine Avenue South. I didn't intend to come up here to talk, but I'm compelled to now. I don't know what this presentation was all about. Is it a study presentation or what? Because the presentation, in my opinion, no offense, was terrible. I don't know what it was all about. You're showing me things from New Jersey, and we don't care anything about New Jersey. You showed us nothing about what the buildings were looking like. And to me, to make a presentation to the city council and to the citizens of Oldsmar is to have a presentation of what the buildings look like, and don't show me New Jersey's buildings. You know, just to put I looked at the picture on the agenda, and it didn't tell me anything. I don't even know what it is. If you're going to make a presentation, I think it should be more in-depth than what this one was. Am I being nice, Tom?
So far.
Thank you, okay. So I will shut down after all this, and I didn't mean to lie to you people to tell you I wouldn't be back.
We didn't
Hope
believe,
that
we
you
didn't
would.
believe you.
But
We knew you'd be back, Mayor P.
I am really disappointed in this presentation. It doesn't tell you people anything. Absolutely nothing. It sure didn't, maybe I'm a little dense, but it didn't tell me anything, Mayor. If you want to make a presentation to persuade me to want to vote for it or bring it back for another discussion. With no apologies to you. You're just doing your job. And I know that you people will do your job, and I feel that the people that are up there can do it right. I made my presentation at the last council meeting. I made it at the wrong time, but I think my presentation was better than this one. It told you more, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, anyone else on this side of the room? Jen.
My name is John Dorrell. I'm an economist. I live at 721 Lemonwood Drive, and I love Oldsmar. Downtown, downtown, downtown. We keep hearing this word, but it doesn't mean what you think it means. This is an apartment complex. Apartments, apartments, apartments. Now we have some rough numbers. It's not my opinion. This is an apartment complex with a giant parking lot. It's even worse than I expected, which is positive. I think we can be united as a town and as a city council, because this is just poor. It's lazy. It's something that AI could have generated in 2 minutes and it would have looked better. Mayor Beaverland is correct. I don't know what Stanberry was doing. They need to be persuasive, and I think everyone up here sees past it, sees through it. Sean, you ran on ideas. You have creative ideas for this community. You got the most votes of anyone who ran. So that was a validation of your judgment. Valerie, you've been against this apartment complex from the beginning. You are correct. Steve, you're a smart guy. You can see through this too. It's a parking lot with rough numbers. If 800 square foot apartments times 240, that's 192,000 square feet of apartments. Versus what? 10,000 square feet of retail. That's 19-to-1 ratio of residential to retail. This is an apartment complex. It's a giant apartment complex on public land. A private company searching for private profits on public land. Out-of-town developer from Ohio trying to develop Oldsmar land on the cheap. We need to know, what is the value of this land? That's a primary question. What is the current appraised value of this land? And what is the sale price of this land? Because as council members, you have a responsibility, and I do believe you will follow through to protect the citizens of Oldsmar. So, and then Mayor Katie, I think you are a very talented, focused, driven person. We've only ever disagreed on the apartment complex. But I think even you see past this, and you don't want your legacy to be part of an apartment complex. Mayor Beaverland cemented his legacy through things like the BMX park, the water waste treatment park, and I think this will not be your legacy, because the way it stands, I don't see how this could pass. It's not what the citizens want. Oldsmar deserves better.
Anybody else on this side of the room wish to speak? Mr. Sanders?
Jason Sanders, 101 South Bayview Boulevard. Good evening. Thanks for having me this evening. Just a comment, no questions or anything else, but kind of similarly to other people at this point, if the density has been the primary issue the entire time, the only thing that's been sacrificed at this point from what I see is the commercial in this property. 250 residential to 240 now, 35,000 square feet in the previous proposal to 10,000 square feet now. That's fine if that's suitable for the city. We've got no problem with it. That's for you guys to determine. But the entire swing and everything that I see in it is the reduction in commercial value there. So there's no change in the residential, which is fine. I don't have any problem with the residential per se, but taking down the commercial that much is just something that I wanted to mention. That's it. Thank you.
Anybody else on this side of the room? Cindy?
Hi, Cindy Olmsted, 507 Arlington Avenue East. So I just wanted to say, presentation aside, so I don't disagree that it was a little light, but I don't think apartments are a bad idea. There's half of the residents in Oldsmar who commute, so having 500 extra apartments, and I'm a realtor, so I like to sell homes, not rent them. But I think it's still, it really serves the residents to be able to not have to commute, 20 minutes or more to go to work every day. And a lot of our revenue is based on businesses around here, so I think this kind of supports that. That's all.
Thank you, Cindy. Anybody else on this side of the room wish to speak? Okay, does anybody else on this side of the room change their mind? Okay. I saw her hand up once. Okay. Okay, at this time, I'd like to invite Stanberry back up to answer any questions if they so choose, or not, that's okay too.
Oh, I think we can answer some questions.
Okay.
Seems like it'd be appropriate, right?
All right.
So in no particular order, I have it all written down, but maybe there's a way of handling this that would be a little bit more rhythmic or something.
Okay.
So I fully understand the idea of not wanting to see pictures of New Jersey in Oldsmar. We certainly weren't here to show you what we're up to in New Jersey. It was only to try to provide ideas and give an example to kind of what we're speaking to. Because we're at the very early or the front stage of what's a development agreement that still needs to be negotiated, we're spending a lot of time and energy and money on the project, as we should. That's our job, right? And there will be time for us and this council and this community to look at prettier pictures that are more contemplative of what we really want, what and expect to build here. The idea today was to give an update based on what we had last discussed a number of months ago and try to give you guys some ideas of some of the things that we are looking towards to do here in Oldsmar, right? So certainly there will be more renderings, there will be other things that you can expect more of in the future, but until we get into the development agreement process and that negotiation, should we move forward, there's a limit as to what you can kind of do. I don't know how many stores there will be. There will definitely be restaurants. I think the signature piece of the building at the top of Park Boulevard, where the community space is more than likely a restaurant. That's all it's always felt like that you have wonderful outdoor space. You're sitting right across from this lovely building, kind of right at the top of Park Boulevard. It seems like that's a natural place for a fun, community-oriented sit-down restaurant. As far as other shops, you could have anywhere from, I don't know, probably 6 to 8 to 10 would be my guess, and it would be a mix of shops that we would look at what the natural voids are in the marketplace. We wouldn't be looking to reproduce what's just down the street in some other form. I would think there would be some type of nice, I don't know if it's necessarily more of a community coffee shop where people can sit and chat that isn't kind of pushing people through like the normal Starbucks might, but more of a gathering place where people can sit and enjoy. My guess is you probably have some boutique fitness. You might have some health and beauty. Those are the types of, examples of the types of things that seem to be resonating today. A little less, soft goods retail, that type of thing. This product here would be rental, not ownership. So that was one of the questions. The buildings, I think, as we stated, are 3 and 4 stories. The 4-story buildings up on State and along Washington was what was consistent with what was discussed last year. So again, that was the reason, that was kind of the reasoning for that. A lot of this too is us just trying to follow code right now as well. There might be changes that can be implemented in the future if there's certain variances perhaps that are agreed to from code. But as of right now, to some degree, we do have to follow code, right? And so when you look at the parking, we have to be able to park X number of apartments, and you have to have enough parking to be able to, properly park retail, restaurant, what have you. depending on what happens, maybe there's some variances there, maybe there's some other ways that we could look at that, and we'll certainly investigate that with you guys again, should we choose to do that, or should you choose to do that. The green space is open to the public. There is some amenity space within the apartments. You can kind of see a little pool tucked in there in that L-shaped building. That would clearly be for the residents of the apartment building. The fitness center within the facility would be for the residents of the apartment building. So there would be some things that would be only for the residents there. But the space, as you see it, generally speaking, the walkway be connecting the 2 points of retail, the building, the plaza, the green space out on the point, that's all open to the public. And it's community space, so we would want to do what we could to keep it that way, for sure. I think that's about everything.
There was a question about a picture of a garage. Someone was confused about a picture of the garage.
Oh, the garage.
Yeah, the confusion is that there isn't a garage.
Got it, yeah.
Right.
There's no, whoops, I guess we're at the beginning here. There's no longer a garage, there's just a pass-through at the end of, is it Fairfield? Through the building, so that when you're on Fairfield approaching State, you're not looking into a void.
Okay, so there would be no garage for this site. That picture was just illustrative of some other design element.
Right,
Okay.
exactly, thank you, of a bridge over the entry to the parking lot, to sort of cap the end of that street.
Okay.
The project's $70 million, which I mentioned before, but someone must not have heard me.
Oh, and the one other question, there was a question relative to, we don't know at this point in time what rental rates will be on these apartments. That gets determined much closer to when you're actually renting them. But again, as I think we tried to illustrate through some of the pictures, it would be certainly market rate apartments, nicely appointed market rate apartments that are nicely appointed, nicely furnished, again, nice and better appliances, plumbing fixtures, that type of thing.
They'd be priced at the top of the suburban market.
Yes.
Okay. Can the council ask questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'd like to have the council ask any questions while you guys are up here. Councilman Swager, do you have any questions?
Certainly do, Mayor, thank you. Well, John and Mark, thank you for coming. I'm new here. My name's Sean Swager. I'm 6 months in now on council. I just want to thank you for your bravery for taking on this 30-year-old puzzle, right? I'll get to my question, sorry. But I just wanted to open with that because, a year ago, you were told one thing. You might hear a different thing tonight. And that's what's, kind of been going on for the last 30 years. But again, thank you for your bravery, your patience with council, staff, and residents. So my first question, if you could wave a magic wand and have this project go anyway, what would that look like to you?
I don't know, John, if you have any thoughts. That's a tricky question because, a magic wand all of a sudden throws economics out the window. A magic wand all of a sudden doesn't have, a magic wand would allow us to borrow money at 2% interest rate, which isn't likely, So, we really have grown very fond of the city of Oldsmar, and we have a vision for what can be done here. That vision does have restrictions. That's just the reality is construction prices have continued to rise since COVID. They haven't gone down. They haven't even just sat flat, right? interest rates have gone up, and that creates a bit of a challenge as well. And there are other things that you have to consider. If you had a magic wand, look, you'd love to build a big, beautiful project that could probably incorporate a parking garage. But the reality is the financial restrictions to that, it isn't feasible.
My next question, how can we have the parking garage back? Because it went from 250 units to 240, so to me, 10 units isn't gonna make or break the cost of a parking garage, right? So, I mean, there may be some other factors. I mean, it's been a year since that was proposed, so the cost of construction, et cetera, as you mentioned, hasn't really increased in the last year per se, to a certain degree, but yeah, what would it take to have a parking garage?
There's just a reality to building that structure that without some, we got what are commonly known as kind of TIF dollars or public dollars to help with the project in New Jersey. We aren't asking for that here. I mean, we'd be happy to have that conversation, but short of some type of kind of interesting public financing there, I don't know that you can. I mean, if you build a parking garage, you aren't building a parking garage for less than $20,000 a parking space. And it very well could be more than that. In a lot of cases it is. The garages that you guys see down, in downtown Tampa or on West Shore and other places are absolutely probably running $25,000 to $30,000 per space. It ends up being a massive amount of money that you have to put out on the front end that makes it very difficult to overcome in any type of development. So the short answer is some creative financing solution.
Well, there are two factors. One is cost, which is a huge factor, and the second is revenue. And market rents are very soft right now, pretty much everywhere, but definitely in Tampa is one of the softer markets nationally, so that's another factor. So we'd have to have significantly higher rents than we're able to project.
Okay, so you would say that the market rent softening and the cost of construction in the 10 less units is essentially the reason for not having the parking garage in this concept?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In your opinion, what would be a reasonable timeline from concept to reality?
Well, once we're through the development process, it'd probably be, 9 to 12 months till we were able to submit for permit. That's what we would hope for.
That contemplates, there's a bunch of engineering. For those that aren't familiar with the process, there's a ton of engineering that will have to be done on this. You'll have to look at water detention and retention on this site, which, isn't contemplated, right? But, we know is gonna have to be dealt with. You're gonna have traffic studies done. We're gonna have to go through all the different steps of the development process with you guys, so we can all go into this educated and understanding, right? And so that'll all be tackled. Once that's tackled and we're in for permit, and we think we've solved for that in a way that everybody can agree to, it probably doesn't ultimately take all that long to get the project built and opened.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So besides traffic studies, which you mentioned, what other safety studies will be required during the design process?
Well,
And use another project as an example, if you don't know specifically, maybe with us.
Well, we everywhere we work, we're required to do significant traffic studies, civil engineering for, wastewater and storm drainage. We're probably the wrong guys to give you that much detail, to be honest with you, but the number of consultants that we end up hiring is pretty extensive, because the knowledge to do all the work that you're asking about is you know, one person doesn't have.
Right.
But, you know, there's a ton of structural engineering, mechanical engineering.
From a safety standpoint, which I think was your question, I don't know that there's necessarily anything that's directly related to safety. But,
I guess it depends what kind of safety you're talking
yeah,
about, right?
I guess that's true.
Structural.
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of an odd question, but, so some of the spaces had retail space on the first floor. If those, and let me just clarify and make sure I'm saying this correctly, are any of the residential units, do any of them have retail on the first floor as proposed?
No.
So it's separate?
It is.
Okay. That answers that question. Okay.
There was a question that the community asked related to the Library Place project, and the retail, we don't think will be competitive. It's just, it's a different presentation.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Tedeschi?
Okay. Couple questions. I'll try to sift through, my notes are a little, I was like writing feverishly as you were talking, because I have been thinking about this for a long time, since you guys first presented, and even before that, before this concept was even presented.
Yep.
So I'm gonna try to get as much information as possible. In comparison, so like we have the previous presentation that was, you guys did last year, and then they both have the same public open space. What is the size comparison from the previous plan and like the square footage of like what you were including here versus what's presented here? Is it increased? Is it decreased? Is it around the same? Do you know?
I would guess that it's fairly close to the same. We don't have that information, and my apologies.
Okay.
Well, it's still, ultimately, just want to emphasize, there was a lot of confusion a year ago when we got our approval. And that was the end of the second RFP that we were involved in.
Right.
The first RFP didn't seem to work really well, partially because of the requirements that were needed to submit. So some of those questions relate, they'll be answered when we get into the civil engineering.
Okay.
And, you know, this is frankly more of a cartoon, because that's all we're able to spend right now until we have an idea as to what you guys want. If you want anything that relates to something we think we can pull off.
Gotcha.
And so it's probably roughly the same,
Okay.
but the exact measurements, even if we brought the measurements relative to this, they wouldn't be exactly right. So
Okay.
they're about the same.
But your intention for the space is similar as well? 'Cause-
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You mentioned this a little bit, and it has been a little bit of time since you first presented I think everybody knows our market is kind of crazy right now. One of the concerns that I'm hearing from residents is they're concerned about empty buildings, empty apartments, empty commercial space. Do you feel like the project that you've presented here as it stands, that you will have full buildings, that you'll have, capacity in the apartments, and that you'll actually be able to fill that commercial space?
Yeah, well, first of all, on multifamily, the market is soft, but it's not as if newer projects are permanently 60% vacant. And secondarily, with the retail is really what Mark and I have each done the last 35 years. And we're very confident that the new space that we would build is certainly going to be superior space to what is in the market. And most of the vacancies in the market really relate to older space.
Okay.
And if I could just add to that, that was a question that came up when we had back when we had the open house at the library and the Q&A, and that came up a lot that night. And one of the things that we shared with people, because there were a lot of people that thought, well, one of the common themes of that night, as we were getting asked questions, of, well, you just want the apartments, you don't really care if the retail's vacant or not, and we're concerned about retail vacancy or those buildings being vacant. And I think to John's point, this is what we've been doing our whole lives, our whole adult lives. And so we know a little bit about the retail in particular, and we know how to get it filled. And we love this intersection right here at the top of the bay and our ability to draw really good, best-in-class restaurant that would serve this community real well. We feel very strongly that we can do that and do that real well. The other part of it is, you don't fill that space, you don't make any money, right? So it is absolutely like vacancy is nothing that anybody wants to achieve, right? So we're going to do everything we possibly can to not only make sure that we build a project that is welcoming to not only the people, but to residents and to retailers and restaurants and the like, but that's welcoming, there's plenty of parking, whatever, so people can shop it and visit it.
Okay. Trying to think the right way to phrase this. Or if I should even ask. When you were designing the space, were you designing a downtown? Like if you were to design a downtown space, would it look like this?
Under the current code and the parameters that we have, yeah. Again, and under today's current, we sound like a broken record, but under today's current financial reality, yes. If things, again, if we all had a magic wand, we would, you could do things differently, but that doesn't exist right now. So, yeah, I think this is, it's a good project. It is one that the town can be a keystone to the city of Oldsmar for sure. It can be a gathering space. It can be a gathering space for the school kids. It can be it can help, with things like the farmer's market. It can help with things like that, right? There's ways of activating that plaza area along with some of the parking lot area and use that to help activate the street for certain things. It can absolutely be those things.
Well, I'd like to add that if you had a more significant downtown, a more dense, heavily built downtown that perhaps had a significant number of retail stores, more restaurants, you'd also be exacerbating the traffic issues that we've heard talked about in a number of the different council meetings that we've either been present for or we've listened to the recordings of. So there's a balance all around, and frankly, those balances are probably what makes your job so difficult.
Of course. And your experience designing both commercial spaces and residential, do you see more traffic with mostly commercial or mostly residential? Which would you anticipate more traffic through?
Well,
I know this is kind of like
traffic is really, if you read a
I know
traffic study, it's really about time of day.
Okay.
So, and it's pretty logical depending on the tenant, the retail tenant, but generally residential is morning and night.
Whereas commercial would be active throughout the day.
It'd be active throughout the day, but probably not early morning.
Gotcha.
And then a number of the tenants are closed or don't attract really much traffic in the evening to later evening. And then the reality is, it's funny, in the New Jersey project, we have nearly 500 units that we're building in about 60,000 square feet of retail. And the reality is, the units, the residential, in many respects, doesn't drive as much traffic as the retail. So if we added a lot more retail, which, essentially a downtown, a more dense downtown would entail, you'd be driving pretty significant traffic versus the multifamily.
Okay. I think that might be it, but I'm double checking. One of the members of the public, I don't think that you mentioned this, they asked about gates surrounding parts of I assume the parts of the apartments versus commercial. Will there be gates between? It looks like a pretty open plan to me, but.
The apartment building themselves clearly have to be, closed off access to residents and the guests of the residents, right? There aren't gates to the rest of the project. Again, the idea is that the parking here is shared in many aspects, right? And so you're at certain times of the day, there's going to be certain parts of this that are going to be more heavily parked because of the retail that's there and the people visiting the retail. Whereas, once you get later into the evening, that would switch, right? So, but all in all, this will be an open project and would be open to the public. Sorry, I did have that written in my notes and
No, it's okay.
forgot to mention that.
That's why I'm looking. I just want to make sure we get everybody's answers for them. I think that's it for me for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hey, guys, welcome back.
Thanks.
When we had the work session in November, I discussed how if you're for smart growth, that smart growth is an actual concept and you actually want to build up. I know there was some discussion up here of folks saying, heck, we want to build down. So I see that you built down and that we scrapped the parking garage. We don't have a magic wand to bring it back, and I understand that. Had it stayed at 5 stories, because there was only one apartment building on this plan, correct? Was this that number 4?
That
If I understood right there.
and the other that went around.
This
that-
was mixed use,
Yes.
though, right? This was straight residential, and
correct.
then this was mixed use, correct?
Correct.
And then we had another mixed use here.
Correct.
So had we not pushed them down a story, and even if we kept the parking as surface parking, which I'm not a fan of, I know I'm not going out on a limb, but I'm not a fan of surface parking. I understand that when you have more street traffic, people backing out, and understand, of course, you're going to slow down. So I get that, and I understood that point. However, since we pushed it down, and we can't do the parking garage, did we sacrifice the space where the parking garage was so we could put the other 2 3-story residentials there, where that could have been actually for the commercial that we contemplated the first time, the 35,000 square feet? Had we not pushed it down, because when we had it at the 5 stories, we kept it kind of just in one spot. And then we had the parking garage, but now if we eliminate the parking garage but still have the surface parking, then would that expand more space for commercial?
The issue that you run into is you have to park all of that, right? And so even if you were to concentrate, if I'm following
What I'm saying, I'll make it very super crystal clear. If those 2 3-story residentials at the north, I guess it's north, right, up top, had we not had to push down the 5 stories down to the 4 and the 3 in this concept, and then we still remove the parking garage, we still have parking here where that could have been for commercial. Is that correct? So had we not pushed it down and expanded the footprint of the residential, then that space at the top where we have the residential would still have been commercial, so there would have been more things for the general public to do. But it's because there was some discussion of not wanting a 5-story building, even though we could go up to 6, you guys only went up to 5. And pushing it down was, we called it the marshmallow effect, right? Put a marshmallow in your hand, spreads out. And so that lessens what the current residents of Oldsmar can do on this space, because we had to extend the residential, correct? And so I'm just making sure that because if you remember during the work session, I didn't want it pushed down.
Right.
Because I did not want this to happen.
Right.
Like, end of discussion. If you push it down, anything you read about Smart Growth says, you push it out, means less for everybody who lives in Oldsmar to do. So we talked about step backs to make it even, maybe it was even 5 stories, but you can use design concepts to make it, you're not necessarily looking at just a brick wall right in front of you, correct?
Correct.
So I just wanted to make that point clear. My other question was about the parking deck. You guys answered it. I don't necessarily have any direct questions about this concept other than the ones that I already posed. I do have some discussion points for when we talk about it, but that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. I have a couple of questions. Some have been answered. I want you to make an assumption for me really quick. I know that's hard, you guys hate doing it, but I want you to assume for me, for just a moment, that this site is drastically overparked, and that our code says for every unit, you need 1 space. Okay? I also want you to assume that you need 10 spaces maximum, depending on the use, for every 1,000 square feet of commercial or retail space, maximum. So to me, and you also get a 10% discount for I don't want to misspeak, CRA. Is it TCC? Yes, for town center, according to the code. So doing some rough math, that takes us from 526 spaces, assuming it's 340 instead, okay? Now, our city staff has not reviewed this. I have not asked anybody to create a parking calculation for what you have here. This is a concept plan, this is not a site plan.
Right.
But assuming for a moment that you may be overparked by about 186 spaces, is there an opportunity to add back commercial space either in the building to the far left or the building at Tampa Road and Washington?
So the only thing that I would say on that is we were pretty liberal in what we called parking, right? Because the city, at one point in time in the first RFP, we said, well, look, that's an issue. And then we were informed, hey, be a little liberal there, right? So the parking that we're looking at now includes the 30 spaces here in the council chambers building, right? Which clearly can't be used all the time, but hopefully on weekends it can be some overflow or whatever. It does include all the parking spaces along State, which you can't always use. There's businesses on State, right? And so it would be something less than that number. But yes, if there are variances that allow for less demand under code, or more of a shared parking analysis, then yes, you can put more on the site.
Well,
Go ahead.
I could add to that. Using your example, which I think is more parking than is needed for retail, you're talking about 1 space per 100 square feet for retail.
1,000,
Well, 10, you said 10.
maximum 10.
Okay, so I'm using 10.
Okay,
But you use 5 per 200
because
square.
I was going with your 10,000 square foot retail.
Okay, so say it's 5.
Okay,
Which, maybe we could do a little bit less depending on what the mix is. That's 1 space per 200 square feet, whereas with multifamily, it's 1 space for 850 square feet. So retail, commercial causes another strain in any development, forget this example, because it really requires significantly more parking.
okay.
Which doesn't mean that we can't look at it and try to fit more commercial. It just sort of shows that strain between the two uses.
I want to change my hypothetical slightly. If for whatever reason, parking restrictions or some other economic restrictions didn't allow us to expand upon the 10,000 square feet of commercial space, could those parking spaces that may be overparked be added back to the open plaza gathering area, for example? I'm assuming it's, passive parking, and I don't know what the cost of concrete is in an open plaza, but for the sake of argument, this is a concept plan and not a site plan. So is there would there be an appetite to be flexible on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. If the three-story residential on 580 to Tampa Road were bumped up to 4-story, how many units do you believe that would add, if you know?
I don't.
I don't know.
Okay. And the reason that I ask is, again, doing math with parking versus use. I know we can't get the parking garage back. I was in a similar position as vice mayor. I'm not necessarily opposed to discussing something that's more than 240 units if bumping something somewhere allows us to include more commercial space on the bottom. Now, whether that's one of the 3-story buildings over on Tampa Road or 580, you can tell that I'm looking for more commercial space. That was one of the things that I noticed. I don't think the loss of the parking garage was only limited to the units and economics. It's, the original plan was for, the concept was for 35,000 square feet of commercial space. So taking that down to 10,000, is a bit of a jump. I would like to see at least another 10,000 if that's at all possible. I, again, understand that this is a concept plan and not a site plan. Doing some rough math, if there's like a really tiny plus or minus ½ acre on the lot that's next to Tampa Road and Washington. So if we assume that the commercial building over on the Point side at State Street and 580 is 6,500 square feet or so, that tells me, not that I literally hate Applebee's, but something the size of an Applebee's or Mandola's restaurant, which we have here, something that's the size of, an average restaurant. Is that little bump out to the right-hand side of that commercial building an additional commercial building, or is that like a covered sitting area? I couldn't tell.
It's really a additional commercial. But,
Okay, additional commercial, okay.
But again, this is to your point, Katie, because it's a
Concept, not a
It's a
site plan.
concept plan. And one of the things that if we can work through this part of it, that we really do look forward to is really working with you guys on fine tuning the cartoon, as John said, right? I mean,
Yeah.
one of the things that we told a number of people, again, that night back at the library, if I said it once, I probably said it 102 times, was the only thing I can assure you is this plan will change, right? And
Yeah.
because everybody's like, well, if you have this much parking and this and that, and I did the math, and I'm like, it's a concept, right?
Right.
And one of the things that we've enjoyed about our time in Oldsmar so far is that the council, I think, staff and the community have been relatively open and workable, right? And we look forward to taking that next step, with you guys, should you choose, to be able to work through this as well.
Okay, I have, and to that point, this document that you gave us back in, what was it, August 2024, where we sat and did that ranking thing, that was fun, remember that? That was a long day.
Yeah.
This was requested by the council. The council requested through GAI that you submit a concept plan,
Yes.
not a site plan. You may recall OAG at the time, they submitted a similar concept plan that actually didn't even include pictures of buildings, and I ranked them lower accordingly. But that, I think that is one of the fundamental misunderstandings, is that this is a concept plan, not a site plan. And similar to here, this is a concept plan. This is not going to contain site plan level detail of exactly what everything is going to look like. That would come after
Yes.
negotiations, primarily because you don't necessarily want to pay somebody to go through that, draw the pretty pictures, put together that presentation if you don't have some assurances that we are moving forward with this project. That was a yes, okay.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, you are absolutely correct.
It is incumbent upon me to ask if any of these spaces can be utilized as golf cart parking.
We could certainly figure that one out. I feel confident in saying
Feel
that.
confident in that.
Yes.
Would it be possible, do you think, in that plaza there, to work collaboratively with the city to incorporate any sort of historic or artistic element?
Yes.
Not necessarily at your cost. I'm just,
We have-
That'd be ideal.
That we would want that, quite frankly.
okay,
Yes.
interesting. The stoops are interesting, more townhome. That would be more of a site plan question, I guess, because it's my understanding that you'd have to have a 10-foot sidewalk, then 30 to 40 feet to the actual building setback, I believe. So I don't know where the stoop would come into that calculation. Correct me, please, I don't want to say anything incorrect.
In the town center, the building can't be any more than 10 feet from the property line.
Okay,
Tatiana,
thank
is
you.
that correct? If so, say yes or not. The structural element has to be, it can't be any further than 10 feet. It's supposed to create a downtown feel.
Right, so in my head, I'm thinking if a stoop is the closest thing to the road, especially on State Street, just giving a little bit more distance from residential that may or may not be across the street or within viewing distance, I think that still incorporates the setback design element that you were previously talking about. Okay, let me go through a couple of things here. Would you be utilizing the same team that you proposed to use in that concept plan that we reviewed back in August? There was a detailed kind of discussion at the back about the team that you might utilize with you for architecture, some folks in Tampa. You might not know at this time if that's
Yeah,
so.
we don't. I mean, look, I think there's absolutely members of that team that we would certainly contemplate using. You know, it would, but those things can change too, right? As we said last year, but certainly we have warm relationships with a couple of different engineering firms. All of them are highly credible, but there might be an engineering firm that would be better for this project because of their history with the city of Oldsmar, right? I think generally speaking, Katie, the answers to that is yes, but it's a yes with a asterisk, I think.
Well,
Okay.
our typical process is not what GII, not the path that GII set forward. Our typical process is you create the project, you have various team members that you
Right.
interchange depending on the project and the geography, and you build the team around the project.
Yeah. The only reason I ask is because a good portion of our ranking criteria at that time was based, it was kind of color coded, I have it somewhere here, was based somewhat on the team and the level of expertise and your experience. Yes,
Yep.
this one.
Yeah.
This part down here, the blue, was about the experience of the team, prior project examples, prior project funding, public sector experience, et cetera. Oh God, that brings back memories. I don't think you could give an answer regarding what percentage, because on the prior plan, it said approximately 20% of the space was dedicated to public use. Do we know if it's still 20% here, or we're not sure?
I don't think the amount of public spaces changed drastically, and I think to your point, Mayor, sorry, I got a little informal there a moment ago.
It's okay.
But again, it's a concept, right? So
Okay.
we would certainly work with the community to make sure that, that we, have as much space as reasonably can be for the community, right? So, I think it's probably pretty comparable, just based on the plans and design.
Okay. I believe those are all of my questions. Okay. I believe that those are all of my questions at this time. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions that came up in the meantime? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So at this time, sorry guys, I'm trying to get all my stuff organized. At this time, we would need a motion for discussion, for the purposes of discussion. Am I correct, Tom?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so there is no motion one way or the other.
We can't discuss anything, Tom?
You really should put a motion on the floor to.
To discuss it.
To discuss it, so,
To be clear, the motion could be withdrawn,
or voted down.
or voted down.
Right.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the concept plan as presented, and then discuss it. Well, you may want to change this corner or that corner, add this, subtract that type of thing. That would be in your discussion.
So if we don't want to have any discussion, then no motion is necessary. But if we want to discuss it as a council, then I need a motion.
So moved.
The motion is to approve the concept plan as presented.
Correct.
Okay?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Let's have some discussion up here as a council. I have to call on you first, Vice Mayor.
It's okay.
My nature of making the motion, but let's talk, guys.
Well, I think it's important to discuss it, and as I was mentioning in my questions to you guys, and again, thank you so much for all the times that you've come down here and the work that you've done. I don't want to stop working on this, but the way that I said it to myself as I was reviewing these things and comparing it with the prior plan, it was, if I was on council, when I was on council, and we went through everything we've gone through to get to this point, and then I termed out, and this concept plan was presented, would I be ecstatic with council for saying yes to that? And I couldn't say yes to it, is my point. And so I was looking at it and I was like, well, even if we took the parking garage, that's what I was saying, it's like, even if we took it away, then isn't there a way to work the parking where we can get, maybe it's green space and small commercial where the parking wouldn't be that much of an issue. As the mayor had said, you increase commercial from 10,000 to 20,000 and maybe not all the way up to 35. But I think when the restaurant question came up earlier, on the prior plan, 10,000 square feet of that commercial was for restaurant purposes. There was 2 mixed-use buildings in that proposal. There's no mixed-use building in this proposal. I guess if you call the lease club portion mixed use, okay,
Yes.
fine. But there was 2 buildings, and so it was always mixed use is what I was aiming for. I thought the green space, even though you said it would be comparable, the problem that we have is if the parking garage is there, great. I mean, it's a parking garage. But what this kind of says to me is I'm walking through people's neighborhood and fine, but it's a small pathway, and I'm sitting there, I was like, well, I don't really want to walk in between people's houses. I'd always envisioned, storefronts on the bottom because there was always going to be a housing element. And Mark, when you were speaking about density, I thought the way it came across to me, I know it means people, but that the buildings were too dense. But that's not what the conversation about density was in Oldsmar. It was how many units per acre are allowed. And you guys are right at 0.30 with the 240. So you're able to lessen that, but then we had to expand again the residential footprint at the sacrifice of the commercial, and then we also have the issue with the parking garage. But with that said, I've been so fortunate to be in your presentations. I can't work with you directly, of course, but I've gotten to know you, and I've gotten to really respect the work that all of you have been doing. And I just wanted, when there's like, hey, the new concept plan's coming, when I saw it, I was just like, okay, where's all the commercial? Are we certain this is going to be a place where everybody can gather? But then, parking garage would be a place for people to park, but what we've done here is, again, walk through people's neighborhoods, walk through parking spaces, and then what's going to be down at the end, because I think on the plan the last time, that was a flex use building, right, on Tampa and Washington. This just says commercial parcel, and we don't know what's going to go in there. So it could be anything, And I know if you've been at it for 35 years that you're really adept at it. As Councilmember Swager mentioned, we've been at this for 30 years. Were you born 30 years ago? So,
Why didn't you ask
he
me?
makes fun of me for being old, because I was talking about what he said. But since we've been doing it for 30 years, if it's not an ideal situation where I'm like, okay, and with your last concept plan, it was, man, you guys are checking a lot of boxes. So I left that work session with, you're going to come back because there's going to be tweaks, right? This is way more than tweaks. I think you'd agree with me, right? This is almost kind of pretty much a wholesale change from what we saw that first time. And so it was shocking, to be quite honest. And I understand there's a business element to it, there's a financial element to it, and I don't want to keep being like, nope, this doesn't work, come back with something else. And I understand that. But when I heard tweaks, it was, well, maybe we'll push this one down, we'll put the step backs in, we'll make sure that we maximize this, we'll maximize that. We really want to make this next one the last one where we're going to have to show them before we can get into the meat of the negotiations. And with the amount of residential, because of the smaller buildings and the lesser commercial space, it's a very difficult ask for me to support this concept plan in this form. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Tarasowski?
I understand why we've been talking about this for 30 years, because I like the lower stories, which is the exact opposite of your opinion. It's part of what I asked you for. So I appreciated that it brought it down. It's what the neighbors were asking for, essentially. The people that I talked to were asking for those stories to come down because they felt like it was too high. So I feel like now it's just at odds. I completely understand where you're coming from, where it's frustrating, I think, for all of us to try to compromise on the space. We want to give the residents what they're asking for. We also want something on the land developed. No one wants it to sit empty. We want it to be a beautiful site. I think part of why it's so charged with the community is because we've been referring to it as a downtown project, and it's, I think, shifted from that. I mean, feel free to disagree with me. I think it's shifted from like a downtown, at least a traditional style like you would see in like Safety Harbor, Dunedin. This is more of what's a good use for this land if we're gonna sell it, not to expand downtown, but to help support a downtown further down the street. We are talking about the library project going in with a bunch of smaller potential businesses there on the corner with the Galleria. All those spots are filled in the Galleria right now or are being developed. I truly don't know what a good compromise is between keeping the same amount of public space. I don't want to see less than 20% for city-owned land that was purchased with a potential promise of a downtown. Now that this is shifted into a different type of project, I was also disappointed that there was less commercial space because I felt like it was taking that public space away from the public. It's just hard. This Greenway connection, I assume that's part of the 20% that's calculated to be, that's what you were kind of hinting at, Vice Mayor, is that this Greenway is part of that 20% that the public is available
I think
to
that's
the public?
something I said. I don't know
okay.
that anybody else said that.
I was
He
not
mentioned-
hinting, I was saying, if we can use the walkway, say there's an easement there, and we can use the walkway, the general public can use it,
Right.
then I guess that would count as public space, yes, because
I guess I feel similarly to you that I would maybe park at the commercial building and then walk over to the other commercial space, depending on what it is, but I certainly would feel like walking through someone's neighborhood. I mean, it's the entrance, it's where they're parking to enter their home. So if I was living in those apartments, would I want that to be the open public space as opposed to a bigger space over in the Gathering Plaza that's dedicated to that? You know, I think I would. Mayor, you mentioned a possible reduction of some of the parking spaces to give back maybe some of that, either to increase that green space. I think that's a great compromise. I would love to see something like that in a future plan if we can. Obviously, that was hypothetical and wasn't vetted by anyone officially in the city. I think that's a good idea. I also liked the idea of golf cart parking. I'm glad that you asked that question. I feel if we're going to have apartments, I feel comfortable with the amount of units that are there now. I wouldn't want to go over that. I mean, I think that part of the density conversation was the amount. If there was a bonus involved, I am glad that you're not intending on using that bonus. I think that was part of what started this conversation previously and kind of caused a lot of tensions with the ideas. We're in a pickle. I think. I'm going to stop there for now. I feel like I could talk about this for years with you guys. I really could. I think about this at night when I go to sleep. What's a good plan? Can we compromise on this? We all want it to be here. I don't want to be talking about this in another 30 years. So I'd like to come up with something that's going to try to make at least the most amount of people happy. I understand there's not a project that will make everyone happy.
Councilman Swager?
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with everything that Vice Mayor stated in regards to the previous site plan, concept plan, and the existing one. And Councilmember Tadaszewski looking for a compromise, and I'd say my recommendation for a compromise, and I don't even know if this is allowed with the Tampa Road corridor, but please keep the parking garage or bring it back and increase the height of the buildings closer to Tampa Road so we have the residential units and potentially commercial space back to help with the economics to afford a parking garage. So I don't know, again, if that's allowed, but just something I thought of. And this is a real challenge because none of us are developers, right? And so I feel for any developer to come in here and propose something for us to pick apart. But I do want to continue working together. So I don't know if this is appropriate time, but I would like to amend the motion.
I made the motion, you can't amend it.
Can't,
Okay?
but he can. But you can
You can-
suggest an amendment.
All right.
Certainly can suggest one, yeah.
So I'd like to suggest an amended motion
Stating what?
I'm just making sure I'm doing, to add a item to the tentative agenda to have a work session discussing downtown.
Not really an amendment to his motion. That feels like a separate motion, but we can let that percolate for a
Yes,
minute. We'll let that percolate. Okay.
Thank you. That's where I'm headed.
Was there anything else that you wanted to add?
Nope.
You know, it's been 7 years for me, not 30.
Almost 5 for me,
Yeah. Here are a couple of thoughts from me, and this is, you know, I know y'all are out there listening, but this is me internal monologuing, which I know Vice Mayor loves. But also, you know, for the council to understand my thinking. My thinking is this: when this came through and this was proposed, this was the highest ranked proposal that we received by the entire council. I understand, Valerie, you were not there until the work session. However, at the time that this was proposed, this was the highest ranked proposal by far. It, as Vice Mayor said, checked a lot of boxes for folks. And subsequently, when it came time to vote to authorize the city manager to negotiate with Stanberry, the vote changed from unanimous to 3-2, generally without explanation. And then there was this request to compromise. Okay. I'm for compromise, but here we are a year later, and what I see happening up here, and maybe even a little bit out there, is that in this spirit of compromise, we gave, not necessarily me or you, Vice Mayor, but collective feedback was given to either squash or move or remove, and it occurs to me that when folks come to a meeting to compromise, but neither side actually wants to compromise, we end up with a plan that nobody really likes. And it's not lost on me that, you know, everybody wants back, from what it sounds like, everybody wants back some of the commercial. You know, everybody wants back more public space. That's literally what we sacrificed, what was sacrificed by squashing the building down, losing the lower story retail in the 4-story residential building that no longer has the L shape that Vice Mayor held up, because that was the mixed-use building.
Right.
So, you know, I agree that this process is frustrating to a certain extent, but I also think it results from a lack of commitment to moving forward when it was time to move forward. And now we're in a different economic situation, and, you know, you can't necessarily get back a parking garage without some creative financing, or, you know, we can't necessarily get back to the thing that everybody's kind of like, ooh, I guess I did kind of like that now, you know? And I understand that at the end of the day, some folks will never like this.
Right.
Some folks will never like it, and that's fine. But I do think that this original plan had more elements of activated public space, even some in the private space. I think it spoke more to the downtown feel. Okay, so that aside, you know, he's not here right now, but Council Member Knapp aptly stated that one piece of land doesn't create a downtown. And I agree with him. But I will say that a $70 million project would be an injection of badly needed future tax dollars, return the space to activity, and hopefully catalyze a turning over of the State Street businesses, which is what we are hoping for. You know, I don't think, to a question that was asked by the public, you know, no, I don't necessarily think that we can support a certain number of businesses beyond X if we can't adequately support Beechwood, Salt Rock Grill, Chuck Loggers, Aki Sushi, Earth Fair, Ice Cream Theory. I mean, you all know the names of all the places that we've lost over the years, and yet everybody still screams, you know, no density, no density. That was one of the reasons why I asked if we could explore bumping the 3-story buildings along 580/Tampa Road, because I'm not afraid of it on that side of the street. I don't think anybody really has a problem with it on that side of the street. It's more on the State Street side. Again, though, I understand that they are handcuffed by the Tampa Road corridor requirements as well as the confusing and conflicting town center requirements. And so they've literally designed what they're allowed to design. It's very difficult to fit and comply and deliver something within the parameters that we've asked with the retail, residential, and public space. I did want to clarify that these would be market value apartments. There was some discussion, and I was asked questions privately, and I did look up on the Florida Housing Data Clearinghouse, the Schimberg Center for Housing Studies, established at UF, my alma mater, in 1988, has data for everywhere, anywhere you want to look up. In Pinellas County, the median rate for rent in 2025 was $1,500, and the market rate rent for 2025 was, you know, $2,168. And rent has never decreased in the market rate. The median rate, it's, you know, up and down, but the market rate has not decreased in the last decade. So I do believe those pictures. I do believe that this would be a high-end apartment complex. I have no problem with the word apartment complex. I don't, you know, are 4 buildings of apartments that have 8 units an apartment complex? Yeah, it is. So, you know, this concept that an apartment complex could create crime, there is no correlation. I have no data to support that. I think that's a lot of fear. There is no evidence of a negative impact to our schools, which have actually lost enrollment due to, you know, a number of factors, including affordability of living and buying a home in this area because of whether it's the amount of money it costs to borrow or availability of homes generally. There was also a discussion that City Hall was going to be $15 million to rebuild. That's not accurate. I wanted to bring that up. That has not been discussed. There's no plan that I am aware of to build anything at this time. If City Hall were a part of this plan, it's my understanding that folks who are working at City Hall would be relocated to existing spaces. So I wanted to dispel that just because, you know, I feel it's our duty up here to explain our thinking and explain the facts as we see them. The traffic data you brought up, Councilmember Todeszewski, our city manager did circulate the Institute of Traffic Engineering data that shows the total number of trips for mid-rise family housing. And the multifamily would generate approximately 0.39 trips per dwelling unit, which is multiple times less than the total number of trips per hour for a fast casual restaurant. So for example, like Chili's, which is 12.55 trips per hour for every 1,000 square feet. So, and we're talking about potentially a 6,500 square foot building up here on the commercial side. So it's interesting that, you know, we want more commercial space, but then we're afraid of the traffic. Well, at some point, we have to acknowledge that what we want has a consequence, right? So, you know, and it's not the multifamily dwelling that generates the traffic. And I wanted to dispel that as well, because, you know, you can even tell from the parking, right? If our code, and I'm asking you to believe me, that our code requires, you know, 1 space per unit, so it's 240 spaces, it's pretty clear that 10 spaces per every 10,000 square feet for commercial or retail equals more. So, you know, it's important for us to remember that what we're asking for and what we're, you know, in these various tweaks, you know, this is what we get. You know, it's just, it's really, really frustrating in a way. So, you know, I have a couple of questions. You know, we were just at Cromalloy. They invested tens of millions, actually it might be hundreds of millions, in Oldsmar, and plan to add hundreds of high-tech, high-paying jobs just less than a mile from here. I would love those folks to live here. They certainly could afford to. You know, we approved to allow educational facilities in the town center. I believe that was last year we did that amendment. And, you know, an educational facility has purchased the, you know, Baycare building. I want those people to go to school and live and work here, you know, 3 blocks away. That's the kind of turnover that I'm looking for on the State Street and the downtown. I think this is the type of missing middle that we are looking for. So I understand that there's a motion on the floor, and we can get to that in a minute, but I think it's incumbent upon us to make a decision if we are going to ask to further tweak this, this particular concept plan, to see if there could be any changes to match what we're saying now, you know, or if we, you know, intend to shelve this for however many years. I don't know. And then, you know, the only other option to me that I think a lot of people don't understand is, you know, we're paying the taxes on this land right now and we're cutting the grass, but the only other option is to sell it and let the market decide, you know, what happens. But there are consequences to that. Theoretically, the code would allow for up to, if you take out City Hall, up to 700,000 square feet of commercial space and 240 units per acre without a development agreement. 67 acres times 35 units an acre. Did I do that math right? 245, 240 total. 240 total. And so there are consequences to selling this, but, you know, I think the reality is kind of starting to set in for me, because, you know, I don't know if this is the last year that we're going to be able to leave the millage rate as is. It might be. And I think that it's sad for me, just on a personal level, to see this used back and forth as a political issue as opposed to what's best for the city. And I do believe that what we had in front of us at this time last year was what was best for the city. So I feel a little bit of frustration and a little bit of regret, but I need, with that, I need a consensus from council what we want to do. There is a motion on the floor
If I may.
to approve it, but I'd like to toss it back to Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I don't believe we're in a pickle.
Okay.
And what'd you say, squash? Was that your term?
The marshmallow squash.
Marshmallow effect.
You said marshmallow effect. I'm going with it.
Were it not for the marshmallow effect where we had to lessened the height of the residential buildings, this residential footprint would not have grown. Period. You guys agree with that? I believe we all agree with it. So that's what has removed the commercial. Now, maybe we can't do as much commercial because of the parking issue. But for the request to see what we could do with a smaller building, with a lower story building, this residential wouldn't have been pushed the way that it's pushed. So again, I don't believe we're in a pickle. I think that's the issue. So my hope would be we go back to the original plan and tweak that, given the parking issue. That's when so we look at that and then say, okay, well, we don't have the parking garage anymore, but if we do increase this commercial, then we're gonna need to park it, as you said, Mark, correct? We're gonna need to park it. So we may not be able to get all the way back up to 35,000 square feet of commercial because of the parking issue. But at least that would still open up more space for the people who currently live in Oldsmar, who live down the street, who may not want to look at a 5-story building or even a 4-story building. But are they going to want to look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 apartment buildings? I just don't believe that they would. And so you make those sacrifices, but I think it's plain as day. I don't believe we're in a pickle. When I was reading and studying up on smart growth, the concept of smart growth is you want to build as high as you can to maximize what is available on the ground to the people who live there. When you push it down, it gives more amenities to the people who live in the apartments to the detriment of the people who live in the city of Oldsmar. I withdraw my motion.
Okay.
I will I don't know that a work session is necessary. And Tom, I don't know if a motion is necessary for Felicia to continue discussions with Stanberry. Is that correct?
No, it's not necessary.
Okay. I just want to be crystal clear when I'm saying I think that's the best idea. So I don't believe we need a motion to do that. If the motion on the table, which I just withdrawn, so it's no longer at issue, is to approve this, I can't. So that's where I'm at, but my motion is withdrawn. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Okay. It sounds as though they're, oh, she's gone. How convenient.
Right
Oh,
there.
she's back. Please correct me if I have misinterpreted any of your comments in any way. It sounds like there is a consensus to have the city manager continue discussing with Stanberry some of the things that we've brought out tonight and see if there is any appetite to further tweak this, to add back either commercial, retail, or green space.
Yes.
Am I incorrect on that?
I think more specifically, going back to what was proposed a year ago.
Well, to the extent that that's economically feasible, sure.
And the parking issue, because of if we increase the retail element, commercial element.
Right.
Okay.
Tweaking the previous design, I guess. Is
Right,
what I meant.
given that we can't do the parking garage any longer and given the parking issues, but going back to the original plan and seeing what can be done to increase commercial, and with the understanding that we're 10 units lower than we were a year ago, because they were at 250 and now we're down to 240.
Yeah.
And making it more, I want the mixed use, because if you look, I don't know who's got the clicker, but if you guys look at,
This one?
might be tough to see, yeah. I mean, I
Oh,
have the-
yeah.
They gave me the old man version because I can't see. And it's going to be tough for the audience to see, but if the original was, this was mixed use. So that's storefronts, things that look pretty, right? Stuff for you to do. This was a sitting area. This was a sitting area. This was a sitting area. This right here was mixed use. So you walk right up Park Boulevard, and you were right into this. This is the place to be. Now, yes, there was a residential element, but it's actually over here, but then it's big sidewalks, right? And then on the corner was a flex building. So that could be anything. So say if you, just for example, say you had people in from out of town and you needed a space. If it's a flex space, maybe we could use it for that, right? And then they could eat at our hotels and then visit. It was that sort of thing. Like I said, you check so many boxes with that one. So I was hoping that one was going to be tweaked. And now, given that we have the parking issue, which is not going to go away, that's what I would like to see happen, if that can be accomplished. I just don't believe a motion is necessary to
Right.
enable
But
that.
that's what it would take for you to get to a yes on a concept plan.
Well, pending review, but yeah, of course.
Right.
I mean,
Okay, what about you, Councilmember Tadaszewski?
I mean, I'm not gonna sit up here and say I like an apartment building. I think it's no secret that this was not my ideal use for the plan, for the sake of not stonewalling you. I mean, like, I want to compromise. I want something that everybody's gonna like. My objective is not to make this more difficult than it already is for us and for the public. I agree with you that there certainly are sacrifices that are made to add in more commercial space. I would be interested in seeing what that looks like. I think this plan had more of a, like you were mentioning, Vice Mayor, a walkable space that resembles a sort of a downtown. So, I mean, I'll give you that. It looks more like a downtown than I would say this version does. I mean, you guys, it's just really hard because you did exactly what I asked you to do. So I don't want to crap all over your plan that you did exactly what I asked. This is what I asked you to do in the workshop, is to lower the stories and see what that looked like. Now that we know what that looks like, it looks like quite a bit more sacrifices for the public space. So with keeping, I mean, the difference between 240 market rate apartments versus 250 is almost negligible to me. I mean, it's like.
What brings it down so it's within the 30 units per acre?
Yeah, I understand why it was, yeah. I mean, I don't hate that idea. Yeah. Well, less apartments, the better in my point of view. I mean, like, you know.
So are you in favor of continuing the
yes,
discussion,
of
or are
course,
you
yes.
just done?
Yeah, that's what we're discussing.
I'm in favor of continuing the discussion.
Okay. Councilman Swager?
Yes.
Okay. I also would be in favor of continuing the discussion. I don't know if you caught the part, Vice Mayor withdrew his motion, but then there is consensus to continue the discussion. Okay.
Okay, just so I have some clear direction. So what I've heard
Clear
is,
as mud.
that in general, to increase the commercial is important, increase any of the community engagement elements in the green space. Golf cart parking, and to add some
That was
component
just a
golf
kind of-
cart parking.
Looks more like.
But
window
I don't know
treatment.
that that's a deal breaker
Okay.
at this point.
That's a magic
So,
wand.
so in general, the direction is to maximize the commercial on the space
Yeah, it looks a lot like this.
Yeah, looks a lot like the one we got in August.
with the consideration of the parking.
Right.
That,
And I understand that we can't necessarily do a parking calculation, but there was technically one done at the time that OAG and Stanberry did submit this plan. I think it was like a terse, just quick and dirty math to see how many parking spots would be necessary, but, okay? Everybody good?
Yes.
With that? Good? Okay. I want to thank everybody who came tonight. Gentlemen, I want to thank you in particular. I understand everything on your faces. I want to thank you for coming to our city, continuing to come to our city. And, you know, we obviously don't take any of this lightly. And you are the experts, and we recognize that. I recognize that. So thank you for being here and sharing your expertise with us. I think everybody up here said that they want to continue the conversation. I know there's another half to that, but it has been an absolute pleasure to date. To the members of the public, thank you all for coming and expressing your viewpoints as well. We appreciate you being here as always. Okay, so with that, it is 9. Push on through. Okay. Next on the agenda is our consent docket, which will be read by our city clerk, Kristen Garcia.
Item number 3, consider approval of the minutes of the September 10th, 2025 council meeting. Item 4, consider approving payment to legal counsel for August 2025 legal services. Item 5, consider approval of work order number 6 for Ardura Group, Inc. to provide design services for the assessment and upgrade of the WRF back generator to include additional processes.
Okay, does anyone wish to pull or add anything? Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on these items?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent docket passes. At this time, the chair would like to take a 5-minute break for comfort.
Motion for a 5-minute recess, Mayor.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We'll be in recess for 5 minutes. Thank you all.
Would you like the timer?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, on it.
That's right, get back up here.
My poor dog don't like me.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Tom. All right, we're back. We have approved the consent docket, which leaves us at our city attorney, Tom Trask.
Thank you, Mayor. This is agenda item number 6. This is a public hearing and second reading of ordinance 2025-02. I'm going to read that ordinance by title only. This is ordinance 2025-02, an ordinance of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, amending Chapter 58, Streets, Sidewalks, and Other Public Places of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Oldsmar by creating Article 5, City-Owned, Controlled, and Leased Property. Thereto, to provide for control of city-owned, controlled, and leased property, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date of this ordinance. That was the second and final reading of ordinance 2025-02 by title only, and it does require a public hearing.
Thank you, Tom. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak for or against this item? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item? Okay, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Vice Mayor Graber,
Yes.
Councilmember Tazeski,
Yes.
Councilmember Swager,
Yes.
Mayor Gannon.
Yes.
Ordinance 2025-02 is adopted with 4 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you, Tom. City Manager, item number 7.
A public hearing to adopt Resolution 2025-24 establishing a millage rate of 4.05 mils for fiscal year 25-26. On July 15, 2025, the City Council authorized the City Manager to complete the certification of taxable value indicating a proposed millage rate of 4.05 mils to the property appraiser. In August, the Pinellas County Property Appraiser mailed the truth in millage, their trim notice, to all property owners advising them of the city's proposed millage rate. The proposed millage rate is equal to the previous year, which was 4.05 mils. Florida statutes require a separate vote by the City Council for adoption of a millage rate and a budget. The first public hearing adopting the tentative millage rate was held on Wednesday, September 10th. A second and final hearing is required to adopt the millage rate. Resolution 2025-24, a resolution of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, setting the millage levy for the City of Oldsmar for the year beginning October 1, 2025, and ending September 30th, 2026. Whereas the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, has reviewed the proposed appropriations for the City of Oldsmar for fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2025, and ending September 30th, 2026. And whereas, in accordance with the law, Pinellas County Property Appraiser is certified to the City of Oldsmar rolled back millage rate of 3.8683 mils, and whereas the proposed millage rate is greater than the rolled back rate by 4.7%, and now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, in session duly and regularly assembled as follows. Section 1, that the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida hereby sets the millage rate for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025, and ending September 30th, 2026 at 4.05 mils. Section 2, that this resolution shall become effective immediately upon adoption. This was a reading of Resolution 2025-24.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. I have one public hearing speaker card from Tom O'Shea.
Hello, Tom O'Shea, 208 Lake Charles Court. I just want to say I got my trim notice last month, the end of last month, and I think it's about $400 I'll be paying for the year for Oldsmar. And I don't think that's nearly enough for the amount of entertainment and services and education you guys provide me.
Not just here.
Not just here. all of the entire city, all you guys do, especially all them back there. They do a lot. And I feel like for the amount of value that I'm getting, I'm not paying nearly enough, so I'd be okay if you raise my taxes. Thank you.
You hear that, Felicia?
I heard. Is there anybody else from the public who wishes to speak for or against this item? Okay, I will close the public hearing. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this item? May I have a roll call vote, please?
Vice Mayor Graber. Councilmember Tadaszewski.
Yes.
Councilmember Swager.
Yes.
Mayor Gannon.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-24 is adopted with 4 votes for and 0 against.
Item number 8.
Is a public hearing to adopt Resolution 2025-25 establishing a budget for fiscal year 2025-2026. The proposed budget was presented to the City Council on Tuesday, July 1st. The budget work session was held on Tuesday, August 12th. Florida statutes require a separate vote by the City Council for adoption of the millage rate and the budget. The first public hearing adopting the tentative budget was held on Wednesday, September 10th. A second and final public hearing is required to adopt the final budget for fiscal year 25-26. Resolution 2025-25, a resolution of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, adopting the budget appropriations for the City of Oldsmar for the year beginning October 1st, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026. Whereas the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, has reviewed the proposed appropriations for the City of Oldsmar for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026. And now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, in session duly and regularly assembled as follows. Section 1, that the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida does hereby establish the appropriations for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026 as follows. General Fund, $20,999,195. Public Safety Impact Fund, $142,500. Parkland Dedication Fund, $2,750. Multimodal Impact Fund, $17,500. Community Redevelopment Agency Fund, $3,190,015. Debt Service to Harbor Palms, $1,255,105. The Capital Improvement Fund, $5,658,500. Water and Sewer Operating Fund, $13,844,770. Water and Sewer Impact Fund, $61,500. Stormwater Utility Fund, $5,068,765. Solid Waste Fund, $3,602,290. Total budget appropriations are $53,842,890. Section 2, that all purchase order for materials and services that remain open at the fiscal year end of 24-25 are to become supplemental appropriations in the respective departmental accounts in fiscal year ending September 30th, 2026, unless canceled. Section 3, that the resolution becomes effective immediately upon adoption.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here from the public who wishes to speak for or against this item? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Graber.
Yes.
Councilmember Tadaszewski.
Yes.
Councilmember Swager.
Yes.
Mayor Gannon.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-25 is adopted with 4 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you. Item number 9.
Is to consider approval of Amendment 1 to the Advanced Life Support ALS First Responder Agreement with Pinellas County Emergency Medical Services Authority. The ALS First Responder Agreement with Pinellas County Emergency Medical Services Authority was executed by the Council on October 29, 2024, and expires on September 30th, 2029, with the option of extension to September 30th, 2034. Approval of the proposed amendment would include the following. A fiscal year 25-26 budget submitted by the city to the county of $709,573. This represents a $67,801 or 10.6% increase from fiscal year 24-25. Section 701H of the agreement provides that the extraordinary budget increase must be negotiated and approved in the event any proposed budget submitted by the city should exceed 3% of the prior fiscal year's budget. Pinellas County EMS has agreed to the budget as proposed. Vehicle maintenance for authority-funded ALS engines, squads, and ladder trucks are allowable costs that may be included in budgets submitted in accordance with Section 701B, less 20% for non-EMS activity. This includes costs associated with Truck 54s and authority-funded ALS ladder truck. Appendix E, update to include personnel reimbursement processes and forms. The amendment has been reviewed by the city attorney, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Number 10?
Is to consider approval of amendment number 1 to the current interlocal agreement with Pinellas County Building Services concerning multimodal impact fees. The first amendment to the 2021 interlocal agreement between the city and Pinellas County updates the agreement to ensure compliance with Florida Statute 163.3180, preventing developers from being charged twice for the same transportation capacity impacts. Additionally, the amendment confirms that the city, which originally adopted the Pinellas County Multimodal Ordinance in 2016 and adopted a revised version in 2019, will continue collecting both city impact fees and the county's multimodal impact fees at the time of permitting. The existing trust account and procedures for transferring and spending county multimodal impact fees, including those within the city CRA, will remain in place and continue unchanged. All other provisions of the original agreement remain in effect. The amendment has been reviewed by city attorney, and staff recommends approval.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item 11.
Is to consider approval of fiscal year 25-26 business assistant partnership agreement with the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce. The Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce is required to submit an annual report to the city manager as part of the current business assistant partnership agreement. A copy of the report is attached. The current business assistant partnership agreement with the Upper Tampa Bay Regional Chamber of Commerce commenced on October 1st, 2024, and will expire on September 30th, 2025. This agenda item proposes to enter into a similar agreement with the Chamber for a period of 1 year beginning October 1st, 2025. The purpose of the agreement is for the Chamber to provide a business assistance partnership program and to support the City of Oldsmar and its economic development efforts. In accordance with the city's procurement code, the City Council is authorized to waive competitive source selection policies upon a determination that benefit to the city should be provided by a unique source or provider based upon particular skills and expertise. Staff recommends that the city proceed as such in this case to utilize the services provided by our local Chamber of Commerce. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have an enthusiastic motion and a second. I like that a little better. Is there any further discussion on this item?
Just thanks to the chamber for all that they do. I just want to make sure that on record to say that. Not that you guys don't know, but I just wanted to make sure to say it publicly.
This is true. Came back extra strong after the hurricanes.
Yep.
Thank you, folks. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Number 12.
Item number 12, I'm sorry.
It's back there.
What?
Chief's still back there. He's awake. It's okay.
Oh. What?
Number 12.
Is to request council approval to waive competitive source selection policies and award an in-frame engine overhaul of a Pierce aerial quint apparatus with a Cummins ISL 5 engine to Cummins Sales and Services. Request for quote 25-022 was initiated and awarded to Cummins Sales and Service in the amount of $24,924.72. While performing the approved end-frame engine overhaul, Cummins Sales and Service identified additional critical repairs totaling $3,768.18, bringing the revised project total to $28,692.90. As the total purchase exceeds the formal solicitation and council approval thresholds, this purchase is now being brought to council for approval. These unforeseen repairs are essential to ensure the operational reliability and safety of the apparatus. Given that the engine is already disassembled and is in custody of Cummins, transferring the work to another vendor would result in significant delays, increased costs due to reassembly and transport, and potential liability issues. Cummins is the original equipment manufacturer and authorized service provider for the engine, and their continued work ensures continuity, warranty integrity, and adherence to manufacturer specs. In light of the factors, staff is requesting approval to waive competitive source selections and allow Cummins to complete the necessary repairs. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
You guys are getting slow over here.
No, I'm
What's
just,
going on?
I know.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item?
Should have had a Ford if Ford made it.
What?
Should have had a Ford if Ford made that engine. That's my comment.
Wow, okay, it's getting late. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 13.
Is to consider awarding the distribution and collection building repairs and renovations to Austin Construction Group under the same pricing, terms, and conditions of the City of Tampa Contract 42110619 PB 23-011, utilizing the job order contract consulting services of Gordian Group, Inc., under the same pricing, terms, and conditions as the City of Tampa Contract 24-J-01282 PB 23-009. The distribution and collection building sustained significant damage from 2 hurricanes that impacted our area last year, rendering it unsuitable for continued office use. The proposed scope of work for repairs including replacement of all damaged drywall, replacing warehouse door, complete remodeling of the building's bathrooms, removal of the office flooring, and polishing the existing concrete floors. In an effort to better utilize the facility and to mitigate future flood-related impacts, the damaged office space will be converted into an air-conditioned material storage area for the division. This conversion will improve the ability to store sensitive materials and equipment safely. All staff offices previously assigned to this building have been permanently relocated to the RO plant. The cost of replacing office furniture and supplies, which was also impacted by the hurricanes, will be addressed in a separate purchase. The request is for the contracting services required to complete the structural repairs and conversion of the space. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
A little bit better. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Okay, consider scheduling work session regarding charitable donation request. The city has received 8 charitable donation requests for fiscal year 25-26. Funding in the amount of $60,000 is available for allocation. If the council wishes to review these requests during a work session, the following dates are proposed for consideration with the suggested start time of 6 p.m. The session would be held here in Council Chamber, 101 State Street West. And the proposed dates are Thursday, October 9th, Monday, October 13th, and Tuesday, October 14th, Tuesday, October 28th. All at 6 p.m. And again, if council could also review these during one of the upcoming council meetings instead of a work session. So this is just being proposed for council's consideration.
All right, thank you. So who wants to come on a different day and who wants to stay late?
Just to that end, those can drag, so if we added it to a council agenda, that would be, it might even be longer than we're here tonight, because that's everybody getting up and giving their presentations. So I'd rather do it in a work session.
Work session? Councilmember Tartazeski?
I'm comfortable with doing it in a separate work session.
Work session?
Yeah,
I'd prefer to keep it in a council meeting, but I'm okay with the separate work session.
have you attended one of these before?
Tiebreaker.
I've watched them, yes.
You've watched them,
I mean,
from the
honestly,
comfort of your own home.
Vice Mayor, I was counting a little bit on a mathematical calculation that takes the emotion out of it, as you've done in previous years, but we'll see.
Oh, do you want me, okay. It makes more sense. Because, well, it does make more sense, because then it's advertised, and then everybody who's coming to request understands they have to be there that day.
Well, and I don't even know if we're requiring them to attend. Are we requiring them?
I believe it is in the application. They are expected to attend one meeting. So
Yes,
whichever
there's an
meeting we
expectation.
choose, either a council meeting or a work session, I will be asking them to attend.
So this has gone on for 2 hours, I think. So I don't know. I know Heather's going to be mad that you have to come for an additional night. But can we make it a Tuesday? My request would be that we make it the 14th, or the 28th?
I have no conflicts for any of the dates.
Any of the dates would work for me as well, so.
All right, you get to pick the Tuesday.
May I check my calendar real quick?
Yes, you may.
I was counting on it being a council meeting, so.
It does tend to get lengthy, and it is respectful, of course, to allow the
Right.
applicants to present information about their organizations and.
The 14th, Tuesday, October 14th. would
All
work.
right, Tuesday, the 14th. So I need a motion to schedule the work session for that date.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. I assume there was no further discussion. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is to consider a request to excuse the absence of Vice Mayor Graber from the September 10th, 2025 council meeting. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
I can second
I
it
have
if
a
you'd like.
motion and a second. All those in favor, is there any discussion on this item?
I just, I don't want to go into detail as to what was going on, but just suffice it to say, my body was rejecting everything, so I thought it best that I stay home that night.
Thank you
so-
for not subjecting us to that.
Yes,
Would not
you-
have
Thanks for no
appreciated
details.
it.
There was no details.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 16, consider a request to excuse the absence of Council Member Knapp from this meeting tonight.
So
The chair will entertain a motion to approve. Thank you.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Council comments. Swager.
Thank you, Mayor.
Going with last names now. I'm tired.
I have no comments.
Excellent report.
Yeah.
Councilmember Curtis.
I do have a comment, and it's actually a thank you to our city manager, Felicia. It's not lost on me that the presentation earlier tonight was hours and hours of your work trying to come up with something that will make most of us happy. And then we took a couple hours and we switched some stuff around and maybe changed some opinions and heard from a lot of people, good and bad and otherwise. And I just want to say thank you for all of your work involved in the negotiations with Stanberry, the hours that you've spent talking to me personally about this, not to mention the other council members. And I just want to say I appreciate it because I understand that this creates hours more work for you. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. That's it for me.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Very quickly, I will be in St. Pete tomorrow for a dinner, and then on Thursday for the Florida League of Cities Municipal Investment Trust meeting. So it's local. So get to go down to St. Pete, get to meet everybody with the FLC, and that's it. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. A couple quick things. The Suncoast League of Cities meeting, the information about it has been circulated to you via email. It is this Friday from 11:30 to 1 at the Safety Harbor Library on the second floor. They are looking for a quorum in order to vote for the board. I am unable to attend. If any of you are to attend, I encourage you to review your email for details on that or consult with our clerk to get more information on that.
Forgive me, what day?
This Friday.
This Friday.
Yeah. The 19th, at the Safety Harbor Library.
Okay.
We had the Party in the Park is coming up. I'm excited about it. Go to it. We're having a community day in Oldsmar on October 4th to do a cleanup. This has nothing to do with city or city staff. I will continue to post about it on my Facebook page. It's just an effort to, help folks who are affected by the hurricanes, and perhaps in future years, it can be a community cleanup for a different area of the city. But I think a lot of folks care about what our city looks like and whether our neighbors need help in addressing, the upkeep of their home. And I think that it's always an opportunity for us to work together, whether we're working together to clean up a yard or working together to, create something collaboratively. So I will be sure to invite all of you to that to the extent you're able to make it on Saturday, October 4th, over on Country Club. We're going to be doing some basic lawn, maintenance. Some lawn companies have volunteered their services. I wanted to give a special shout out to Justin and Sam Bosker, who have volunteered their dump buddies to take away any additional refuse or the clippings of any trash. You know, just a lot of people coming together to continue to help these folks, and it does happen to fall just past the 1-year anniversary of Helene and Milton. So continued prayers for no storms. I probably had more comments, but I don't have them anymore because it is 9:30. So with that, we will move on to the tentative agenda. Is there anything anyone wishes to pull or add to the massive, and I say pull, not add, to the massive tentative agenda
It's
that
thorough. It's
always comes? Tom said, well, and just for the public, the reason that the tentative agenda is particularly large is because the first meeting in October is the beginning of our new fiscal year, and it, you know, the ability to spend funds allows our city staff and our department heads to make certain purchases that are required for the ongoing operations of the city. So there will be extensive reading on the consent docket by our
It's 24 items.
city clerk and probably by our city manager as well.
Councilmember Schwager, did you want to add charitable donation review?
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
See what I'm saying now?
Catching what he's throwing down now? Zip it. Zip it, zip it. Zippy,
Let
zippy.
it go, huh?
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the tentative agenda.
So moved.
Oh, second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this item?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Yeah.
Motion and a second. This does not require a vote. We are adjourned. Thank you all.